Recently finished my first ever replay of Control. I wanted to replay and read the limited edition book at the same time, but for that reason I unintentionally delayed the replay with other new games I wanted to play more. After Alan Wake 2, or more specifically The Lake House, I guess I sort of decided to save the replay for when we got a release window for Control's sequel, and we got that in December. It's been a lot of fun going back to the oldest house and reacquainting myself with the world, this time with the ray tracing I waited so long for as part of the Ultimate Edition. I'm least familiar with the lore of Control, partly down to the new weird genre and the single playthrough. I decided not to use the map this time, and the control scheme allowed me to remove the button prompt entirely. I found this to enhance my experience of the game, and I thank Kasurinen for highlighting that playstyle both in the book and in his interview with the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences. I paid more attention to the layout of the world, and I limited the use of control points to fast travel when required, both at the bottom of the foundation in the base game and after fighting off Mold 1. I discovered that the game controls allowed me to walk instead of run, and I had a lot of fun with the photo mode. I collected all the documents on my first playthrough, and I made peace with not collecting them all again this time, but I still found myself seeking them out as I played. That speaks to the strength of the world building through them. Somehow, Remedy always makes collectible lore drops a joy instead of the slog that so many other games can fall into the trap of. I did have questions in my mind as to how the sequel would follow up Control's super satisfying journey of unlocking new abilities. That was my biggest question for a sequel. Jesse is already very powerful at the end of the game. After having watched the trailer for Control Resonant, it looks to me, in many ways, a perfect sequel. First of all, Control could be a difficult game to find in a search engine, populating results with entries related to game controllers. It's not a unique phrase like Alan Wake would be. That's touched on in the book. It recently got a reprint, and I'm glad that more people will be able to read it. As I replayed Control, resonance was a term that came up time and time again. It makes perfect sense to be part of the title to the sequel. With the Remedy connected universe growing more intimate connections in the years since 2019, the lack of a number also makes sense as an entry to the universe at large. But enough about the title. The number one reason that Control Resonant looks to be the perfect sequel is the switch from Jesse to Dylan as the playable protagonist. Instead of entering the oldest house from the outside, we leave the oldest house. Instead of a character who travelled across the mundanity of our world, we play as a character who was imprisoned in the strangeness of a single building. Instead of a building filled with corridors and rooms, we explore an open world where the sky is visible. Instead of starting the game with the single power of observation or perception through Polaris, I'm guessing that we'll start the sequel with an already powerful Dylan, especially if the events of Control are anything to go by. At the very least, he'll be more powerful than Jesse at the start of Control. It wouldn't be a full reset in power, which could be an annoyance after Control, but it would allow us to keep upgrading in power, just as in the first game, which is something I loved. Control Resonant also takes its cues from Quantum Break, which turns 10 years old this year. As soon as I saw that pigeon, memories of Quantum Break resurfaced. There's a live-action scene as part of the show game Hybrid involving a bird flying past a window with its motion frozen in a broken section of time. Incidentally, the trailer for Control Resonant released at the Game Awards a decade after Quantum Break was shown at the same event, though it wasn't an announcement reveal that earlier time. But it's not just limited to that. Sean Dury acted in the E3 trailer for Quantum Break in 2013 as Jack Joyce, the lead character of that game. The role eventually went to Shawn Ashmore. Now, Dury returns as the lead protagonist of Control Resonant. Where Quantum Break broke time, it looks like Control Resonant breaks space. In both games, this event affects their big cities in clearly visible ways, though this appears to be to a much greater extent in Control Resonant. Finding Courtney Hope's character is a theme of both games, though in the case of Quantum Break, this is tied closest to the ending of the game. In both games, combat is not cover-based, but intense and personal. And finally, the soundtrack for Control Resonant is the closest we've had to Quantum Breaks since. Now, I just want to throw a wild theory at the wall and see what sticks. Through a recording of a therapy session, we learned that Polaris contacted Jessie in a dream. Polaris showed her the oldest house and warned her that she had to be there
at a very specific time. Something hugely important is going to happen.
I take that to mean that Polaris knew about the Hiss invasion and the lockdown. Polaris saw the future and transmitted it through a dream to Jessie. In a transcript, we see that Dylan was connected to Polaris, which showed him a vision of Jessie's whereabouts at the time. The significance of dreams is highlighted elsewhere in this game. In a dead letter, Richard Boker writes about a dream about a small, empty town which is dark and has a lake at its center. Shadows of people moved around and muttered odd things before Richard was woken up by a bright light. This feels like a clear reference to Bright Falls and The Taken. Alan Wake 2 gives us more dream connections through Alan picking up echoes of Alex Casey, which he used in his writing before entering the dark place. When Dylan lets in the Hiss, he gets rid of Polaris, but he's still a para-utilitarian. After Dylan is found by Jessie, he tells her about his new dreams, one of which is about the end of the game. Dylan was going to be the new director, and he helped Jessie get a job as an office assistant, where there was always plenty of work to do. Forever. This dream shifts into the credits of the game. This has a further shift into a musical where Jessie is an ordinary girl from an ordinary town, and the song keeps using the word ordinary. This can't be the Ashtray Maze. That comes before the office assistant section, and the song doesn't match. Maybe we could see this in the sequel. The next dream has the Hiss infecting the president. The next dream involves Dylan meeting Mr. Dorr, who tells him about the multiverse. The final dream either involves an out-of-body experience or is meant to be Dylan viewing through our eyes as the player. Some of these dreams could be delusions, but some do seem to be precognition. Considering the broken reality of the Control Resonant trailer, could Dylan be seeing alternate realities? A world in which Control is a musical. A parallel universe in which Dylan escapes to let the Hiss infect the president? I'm now convinced that the general nature of his dreams will be important in Resonant. From a document posted to social media, we know that Dylan is fully focused on searching for his sister. The very first dream Dylan has involves him looking through the eyes of a girl, an only child, in Ordinary before the AWE. The girl's name is Jessie Dylan Faden. The FBC then captures the girl as Dylan was. Part of me thinks that this Jessie Dylan Faden will be re-established at the end of the sequel, with Dylan and Jesse somehow combining to form one. That's my crackpot theory. What's yours? Feel free to share in the comments. For now though, I'm ready to finish my replay with the expansions of Control.